Good afternoon. My name is Derek Ashton. I'm the Director of Compliance and Actuarial Divisions here at Medcom Benefit Solutions. I will be your speaker today for our 19-minute webinar. I'd like to thank all of you for attending with us today. We are recording this presentation and will distribute the recording and a copy of the presentation next week. We will have a Q&A time at the end, so please type up your questions in the panel of the GoToWebinar menu. And today's topic is the compliance checklist with the Medcom Bridge software. First, we'd like to provide a quick overview of Medcom Benefit Solutions. We have been a leading employee benefits administrator and consulting firm for 36 years now. Our headquarters are located in Jacksonville, Florida, and we have a regional office in Atlanta, Georgia. There are 5 distinct divisions that make up our services. The first is ACA Consulting, Compliance, Reporting, and Penalty Appeal Support. Next, Health and Welfare, Compliance, and Actuarial Services. Also, COBRA and Premium Billing Services. We also offer HIPAA Privacy and Security Services. And finally, Fringe Benefits Administration with services such as FSA, HRA, HSA Administration. And we'll go ahead and get started now. Today's 19-minute presentation is about a very exciting topic that we are presenting to you as an opportunity to win some new deals and track compliance progress with the Medcom Bridge Compliance Checklist. Over the years, we've seen quite a few checklists that are designed to help an employer understand where they stand with compliance. And after looking at all of those, one day my boss, Michael Bracken, asked me, Derek, after looking at all these checklists, would it be possible to boil everything down to just 25 or 30 questions that would help an employer to know where they stand with compliance without them having to spend 6 months or a year working on the checklist and figuring everything out? And the checklist we're going to show you today really came from that conversation and from taking the top 30 questions that we would want to ask any employer if we only had 30 minutes to spend and we didn't know anything about the employer going into the conversation. And so it was really built as a great prospecting tool and a diagnostic analysis of compliance. And we're very pleased to present this to you today. I actually ended up going a little over the requested number of questions, and we ended up at 31. But again, it's designed to be done in about 30 minutes. And each question is designed to be a conversation starter about things like ERISA and tax code compliance for cafeteria plans, healthcare reform, COBRA, HIPAA, wellness plans, and other compliance areas that are critical for any employer. This becomes a powerful prospecting tool. So if you're on the line today and you're in a sales role, you're a producer looking to win some new business, the Medcom Bridge Compliance Checklist is your ace in the hole for prospecting with compliance. If you're on the line today and you are an account manager or involved in the client service side of the business, this checklist gives you an objective basis for measuring compliance progress after the producer has won the new business. This checklist provides you with a uniform diagnostic tool for analyzing your entire book of business and actually assigning a compliance score to each client, and we'll demonstrate that in just a minute. But it gives you a baseline for knowing where the client stands and knowing exactly what needs to be looked at to improve compliance for that client, and also what areas they need to be educated and learn more about. It's going to give you a consistent company-wide training platform to help focus in on compliance. And of course, a robust sales weapon for all of the producers in the audience. One of our goals with this checklist, again, was to keep it very simple. And so every question on the checklist has no more than 4 possible answers. The answers would be either, yes, this is an area that applies to us, and we're doing what's being asked. Also, it could be no, this area applies to us and we're not doing the thing that's being asked about. We also offer a not sure option on every question. And many times employers don't know if a given requirement applies to them, or they don't know if they're actually meeting the requirements in that particular area. So we give a not sure option, which often turns out to be what we call a yellow flag. Caution, check the status, and find out what's happening in this area. And then finally, a 4th possibility on most of the questions is not applicable. And so, as an example, an employer that is not subject to ERISA, when asked about a wrap document, they could say not applicable, simply because while a wrap document can help an employer that is not subject to ERISA, it's not technically a requirement, so they might say not applicable. The 4 possible answers translate into 4 possible outcomes. So we either confirm compliance, we raise a caution flag, we raise a red flag to say correction is definitely needed here, or we raise a gray flag to say this particular area is not applicable to this particular employer. And that's really, again, designed to keep things very simple. So at this point in time, I am going to go ahead and switch over to our checklist demo. And you should now see that on your screen. I'm going to go ahead and log into the Medcom Bridge. All right, so we've logged in as our demonstration broker. His name's Benny, and he has 7 employer groups set up in the Medcom Bridge. Each one of them has a checklist that's been run at least one time. And we'll go ahead and go over to the compliance checklist, and we're going to provide a demonstration of running the checklist for a new prospect. Our new prospect is going to be called Demo Employer. They probably don't have a shop in your particular neighborhood, but apparently they're out there. And we're going to look at their answers on the checklist. It doesn't look like they're doing too well. You can see that all these questions have no's. And these questions are about whether they have wrap documents, cafeteria plans in place. Are they amending and updating those items on a regular basis? Are they distributing documents? It looks like they are distributing their certificates of coverage. They're not subject to 5500 filing requirements, so they put not applicable there. It looks like they're okay on non-discrimination testing, but on all the document issues, they're doing quite poorly. So you have a prospect on your hands that really needs some compliance help, and it sounds like their current broker is not giving them any assistance in that area. As far as ACA is concerned, they're an applicable large employer. Everything looks good, although their plan is not affordable for all full-time employees. So that's a bit of an issue. In fact, they've identified 10 employees unaffordable. So we'll just make that note in the system, and we'll move on. That's actually going to appear on the report now because we added the note on that. Let's look now at COBRA compliance. They do use a third-party administrator for COBRA compliance. That's generally good. But it turns out their administrator doesn't distribute the initial or general notice, or at least they're not sure about that. So we'll end up with a yellow flag on that one. but they are distributing the election notice when there's a qualifying event. So on COBRA, they're 2 out of 3. HIPAA. This employer happens to have some self-funding involved, and they're subject to all the HIPAA requirements as a result. And it looks like they've answered no on all of the HIPAA questions, and so that's not going to look too good on their report. Finally, wellness plans, they don't offer one, so we just put not applicable. And so here you are sitting with this employer. You've gone through the first 30 questions, and you have some serious concerns, and you're wondering, what is their report going to look like at the end of this? We also asked our 31st question, any other compliance concerns that might be in the works. We added a few here that aren't on the checklist, but that you might want to talk to them about, and added those into the notes. And we'll go ahead and continue. And now I'm going to generate the report, and you'll see how this prospect fares with the checklist on the first run. Well, I have a feeling you're about to win the business. This group scored only 43% on our checklist, and you can see on the executive summary that in the compliance basics, the ERISA and cafeteria plan issues, they only scored about 27%. So 1 in 4 is not a great ratio. They're doing very well in ACA compliance, pretty good in COBRA, but they do have something significant to address there, where we've raised a yellow flag on that general notice. Nothing to worry about with wellness, that's not applicable. It is applicable with HIPAA, and they got 0 there, so that's a significant concern. They are aware of some other issues on the good faith evaluation question, and so they scored well on that. But overall, when you look at everything, they only scored 43%. And then as we scroll down through, the checklist does provide the question, the answer, our recommendation based on the answer, and information about potential penalties that might apply for violations in this particular area. And that runs down through all 31 questions. You'll also see that we label each question with either a green, yellow, gray, or red marker, just to show where we are finding issues and problems and where you need to pay attention. We wanted to make it really obvious where attention needs to be given for the client. Next, we're going to do a 6-month checkup for this client. So this particular employer, after 6 months, you have not only won the business, but you've also helped them to become compliant. First of all, our first question, have you done a compliance review? We're now going to say yes to that question because you've now taken them through the checklist and addressed their issues and questions, so we can update that one. You've put a cafeteria plan in place. It hasn't needed to be amended in 6 months, so you put not applicable on the amendment question. You've also put a WRAP document in place for them. The WRAP does incorporate all of the ERISA welfare plans, so we'll say yes to that. It hasn't needed to be amended yet, so not applicable. They're not applicable on the SMMs because they haven't needed to do that yet. They're still distributing their SPDs and booklet certificates, but now with a WRAP SPD added, so it's fully compliant. You've also helped them to get their required notices up to date and in place. Still no need for Form 5500, and they're good on non-discrimination testing. Everything else stays the same. So what you've done is dealt with their documentation issues. We'll now see how your client fares after 6 months under your supervision and representation as their broker. Wow, they jumped from 43 to 68 just by getting the WRAP and cafeteria plan and doing an evaluation and taking care of these items. So great job. I have a feeling you're going to have a long, happy relationship with this client, but there's still more work to do, and you've brought to their attention the fact that HIPAA is a big issue. So we're going to go back and run through again, and this time we're going to do the 1-year checkup. So you've now had the client for 1 year, and you're ready to see how things look on the compliance front. We're actually going to change all the HIPAA questions to yes because, well, you hired MedCom to take care of HIPAA for them and to get a privacy policy in place and walk them through the process of being fully compliant with HIPAA. So as a result, they're now going to have a higher score. And let's see how they're looking after 1 year. They've started at 43%. Mid-year, they were at 68%. And finishing up the year, wow, great job. You have gotten them to 92% by addressing their major compliance needs. Now, as we look at the executive summary, you'll see they still have a yellow flag and they still have a red flag. So an area to look into and find out what's happening with COBRA and a red flag area under ACA compliance that you'll want to address in some measure. But great job in your first year. You took them from 43 to 92%. That's a 49-point gain. And they are going to be a very happy client. And you can see these, so many of these have turned into green flags for you. So that is the beauty of the checklist. Now let's say you're an account manager and you've been working through this process and you'd like to show how many of your clients are actually compliant or where they stand in terms of the compliance checklist. Well, you can get a report here and you can find all the employers and you can find their checklist scores. So looks like you have one bad apple that's only at 27%. Probably a brand new client, I'm sure, but you have a range of scores there and you can simply download this in Excel. And then, I apologize, I have a screen open here. Not sure where that came from. That was not the right, the right one to download, but let's see if we can find that. There it is. And so you're going to have your checklist scores, and in Excel you can simply select those and you can find your average. 59% is what Excel tells us is the average, and so you can see exactly which clients need how much work, and maybe a year from now they're all averaging 85, and that would certainly be something to show and something to tell prospective clients about how well you're handling compliance and actually having firm numbers to be able to show that. So that is the compliance checklist, and again, we're really excited to be able to offer this to you. Jumping back into our presentation for a moment, you might be asking yourself the question, how much does this cost? Well, that's a great question. There are 3 options on cost. The first is what we call the basic. That would be for a brokerage or agency that is just looking to use the compliance checklist. And that's all they want. In that scenario, there's a subscription fee that can be paid for access to this and use of this system. Okay, the next option would be what we call the partner option, and that's where you sign up for that subscription. But over time, as you find compliance needs with your client, you start to have MedCom address those needs and put those documents in place, and you start to work with us as your compliance partner. In that case, we can provide credits back that would, with sufficient engagement with us in the area of compliance, that subscription fee could be partly or completely wiped out just by beginning to do business with us and letting us help in the area of compliance. And the third option, for those of you that are already engaged with us in the area of compliance on a significant level, you may be eligible for our preferred partner, access to the compliance checklist and the MedCom bridge, which we will be pleased to discuss with you. So for further details on any of those options, please contact our sales department, and we'll be happy to help. So again, quick summary, this is really here to provide you with a tool to measure success in the area of compliance and be able to prospect in a winning way and manage accounts in a winning way that helps you to succeed in an even greater way in the area of compliance and move the ball forward quickly. Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll now take the opportunity to answer any questions that you might have. And if you've already submitted questions in the GoToWebinar interface, we will go ahead and answer those now. And if you have not, we'll be happy to receive those questions. Feel free to type those in into the interface at this time. All right, question came in. Is there any limit to the number of times I can run a checklist for a client? The answer is no, there's no limit. If you want to run the checklist once a month, once a quarter, twice a year, or annually, there's no limit on how many times you can run the checklist for a given client. We think that certainly 6-month checkups would be a great way to show progress for any given employer, but there's no specific limit on how many times you can do this for a given client. But that's a good question. All right, let's see if we have any other questions here. Okay, we have a question came in. Let's see, this one says, where did these compliance questions originate? That's a great question, and if you give me the liberty to tell a little story, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, MedCom has seen many different checklists, some great ones and some not so great ones over the years from a lot of different sources. Years ago, an insurance producer that was working with us asked if it would be possible to build a checklist like this. And at that time, we hired a very capable attorney to develop a checklist. And the checklist turned out to be about 200 questions. And it was going to take about 4 years for any employer to actually complete the checklist, and no one ever did. From that experience, we took away the fact that compliance checklists don't get done if they're too complicated, and that really led us toward the concept of simplifying. That's really a theme of the MedCom Bridge in general. It's about simplifying compliance. That certainly applies to the checklist. And so again, we asked ourselves if we only had 30 minutes with an employer, not knowing anything going in, what questions would we want to ask them if we had around 30 questions to ask? And with our team of attorneys and other compliance experts here at MedCom, we were able to develop this checklist, referring to many of the other great ones we've seen over the years, but again, trying to boil it down to no more than 31 questions total and a short period of time. So that's where the questions came from. Looks like we don't have any additional questions at this time. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you so much for joining us for our 19 minutes presentation. We look forward to hearing from you and learning how we can provide assistance to you in the area of compliance with the MedCom Bridge. Everybody have a great day.